ever come across an abandoned house and just wanted to know how that happened? So this here house here would have been someone's, well, home obviously, but someone would have wanted to live here and someone made a choice to live here. I'm just outside of Swan Hill on my way up towards Robinvale, and it just gets you thinking, you know, who lived here and why did they live here and why did they go? And I'm not going to go in there, but there'll be bits and pieces in there that kind of hint at the life that someone had. And I just wanted to shoot this and just say welcome to RCE. RCE, Rural Community Engagements, is not like going to be like any other subject you've done. It really is about thinking about what does it mean to thrive into the future in rural communities. But the first thing we've got to do before we start thinking about the future is we've got to think about the past. And that's often how I feel when I'm in rural Victoria. I'm out at Kerrang at the moment, and it just makes you wonder who lived here. Like, yeah, it's fascinating to be at a house that you think, oh, this might be 100 years old, and to wonder who lived there and why. But what about the idea of people who lived here for thousands of years? So I'm at the Reedy Lakes or Middle Lakes region, and this is just outside of Kerrang, or in Kerrang, I suppose. And this has been home to First Nations communities for thousands and thousands of years. And as you look, you can see, I don't know whether you can see, but there's lots and lots of birds here, and you know, it was just a really, really fertile place. So the communities that lived here, there were three main communities. A couple of thousand were the Wadi Wadi people, the Baraba people, and the Wemba people. And then there were another group, and you can understand why, that would come down and visit on a regular basis. So for me, and this is just a bit of a welcome and acknowledgement of the fact that this subject is about rural communities. But it's also acknowledging that we have so much to learn from First Nations communities, because if you think about it, what we're trying to do in rural and regional Victoria is live in a place that can be difficult to live in. You know, it's dry in summer and cold in winter. It's, you know, a lot of it is really, really flat. And so we're kind of working out, how do we enable people to thrive? Like, this is our big question in the rural community space. And then when you think about it, you know, we're doing this on the basis of a couple of hundred years of history, but perhaps there might be something to learn from First Nations community who've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years. And that for me is really interesting. So this is a bit of an opportunity. You will be investigating a particular community, and I really encourage you to be intrigued, to think of the rural community that you're investigating, and when you start having a look at First Nations community that lived in that area, think of it as an abandoned house. Who lived here and how, and what can we learn about that? What can we learn about the people? What can we learn towards the future? So in this subject, it's not going to be a normal subject. No doubt you've probably all heard, but it'll be a bit different. You're going to be creating something. We're going to be working closely with you to develop an understanding of a particular rural community and getting you to really think about health in that setting. Not just health in terms of the absence of illness, but health in terms of thriving and well-being and just growing. You know, what would it look like if the best place in Victoria, Australia, was to live in the country? There's no reasons that city has to be considered better. But what would it look like? What would life look like? And how do we enable people to thrive? So you'll be working in teams in this subject. And we're going to facilitate that process. So that process will be a really, really rich experience for you. You will be collaborating with a rural community. We have lots of community partners across rural and regional Victoria. And so you'll be working with them to address a need that they've identified. And the projects that you're working on are real. You know, these are project ideas that may well get implemented. Obviously, they don't all get implemented, but we're you know, the community kind of holding out hope that you'll be able to come up with some really cool ideas and cool suggestions as to how to engage with this. But most importantly, my main goal is that you walk away intrigued in what it takes to thrive in rural communities, what it would take to have rural health being, you know, well, mattering really, but what would it take for rural communities to be healthier than metropolitan, and for you to be interested and intrigued about what we can learn about doing community from First Nations community that have thrived here for thousands of years. So this is just outside of Kerrang, a gorgeous spot I've never visited.